Want to stop juggling spreadsheets, calendars, and a dozen apps just to run your rentals? Logify makes it easy. It's an all-in-one toolkit for hosts. Build a direct booking website, automate guest messaging, and keep all your channels in sync. Running your rental business your way has never been simpler. And for Good Morning Hospitality listeners, you can get 20% off any yearly plan with code GMH20. Just check the link in the show notes to get started today.
Welcome to Good Morning Hospitality, your one-stop shop for the latest news, noteworthy trends, and thought-provoking discussions across the industry. From hotels and short-term rentals to all things travel and hospitality, you'll find each episode equips you with the information that you need to start your week. Join us on Good Morning Hospitality every Monday, wherever you get your podcasts.
Good morning, gang.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. How are we all on this bright and sunny August day? Sarah?
Fabulous. Yeah, good. I'm glad the sun's out now because yesterday when I put out my washing, it's been saying it's going to rain in Barcelona for like 3 days. And it rained for like 10 minutes yesterday. And then I thought, oh, the sun came out. Perfect. Did the big wash, blankets, sheets, all that kind of stuff. As soon as I got it out, pissing it down. You know, that's brilliant. So they're back outside this morning and the sun is out. So let's hope it stays that way.
How unlucky do you have to be to hit the rain in Barcelona during summer? And when I think go and stay inside, go to bed. It's not your day when that happens to you, right?
Yeah, no. I mean, mostly all plans just get cancelled whenever it rains in Barcelona. We talked about that. There's no point.
There's no point. Well, we're sat here with some nice sun in London as well. Hi, Rafi. Well done. By the way, well done both of you for turning up in August. Wow, extra points for you guys when the rest of the continent is stopped. Rafi, how are you? You okay?
I'm good, thanks. I got a little very short yoga session in this morning, so feeling pretty good.
Well done. Great. So you did yoga, I jogged. Sarah?
Ooh, I'm like 2 weeks into just being a loser. No, I did not. I started a new workout routine, to be fair. So it's August. All the classes are cancelled at the gym, basically. And today especially is a holiday, so the gym opens later and it was a disaster. So yesterday I did like a bigger workout. I've got a friend who's a personal trainer. When I mentioned him the other day, I was like, hey, all the classes at the gym are cancelled. What am I supposed to do? He's like, I'll come down, like, let's do a session. I'll test your fitness level and then I'll give you a couple of routines that you can do. Which basically consists of, rather than doing like less weight, I guess you would say, with higher reps, than I do a lot more weight, but fewer reps. And so that means that this morning when I went to brush my teeth, I could barely move my arm. So I decided today was like a perfect day for a bit of a rest. So I've been lazy once again. Next week, I promise to be a better person.
Oh, it sounds to me like you've done more than us, right? You know, you've completely look at us celebrating a yoga class and a quick jog when you've been working out so much you can't even brush your teeth. I love it. Love it.
You're just not working on your podcast, but it's fine. You're probably not definitely overall.
Now it is August. I forget because you all both always seem to be away all the time doing fun stuff. But have you got any more holiday to come this month, Rafi?
No, we have a long weekend this week, and I don't actually have many plans. But I was in Paris last weekend, which was a great time. I actually saw the climbing.
Oh yeah, how was it?
Experience. Yeah, I mean the atmosphere was insane. A lot of emotion and just super impressive, especially because I'm starting to get into climbing, so I'm understanding the difficulty of it. And they were doing really insane things, so that was cool. This week, I'm not going to be doing too much this weekend.
Yeah, I like it. What about you, Sarah?
Yeah, last weekend I went up to the north of Spain, which was normally would have been fabulous because it's usually like 21 degrees and raining, which is the total opposite of Barcelona. And they in fact had a heat wave, 37 degrees on the Saturday, and it was the hottest record in 70 years. So that was a bit of a failed plan. But it was fabulous and it was beautiful. And the next day it was rainy and 21 degrees again, so fine. And it was really cool because last year I did the Camino de Santiago, like the St. James Way, all through the north of Spain. So it was like 34 days walking through all these different little towns. And it was really cool to visit, like just over a year later, a lot of the places. Like in a single day, I think I visited things that took me like 6 days to walk through. But it was really cool to be back and visit them in a different light and
It's
not be sweaty. And
it's an amazing part of the world, isn't it? So that's Galicia or the Basque. It's the Galicia, isn't it?
yeah, so it was in, so there's like 4 autonomous communities in the north. So there's the Basque Country, Cantabria, Asturias, and Galicia. I was in Cantabria.
Yeah, nice.
It was fabulous. Yeah,
nice.
it was awesome.
I'm very jealous of that. That sounds very cool. Okay, well, look, guys, I've got nothing planned, which I'm absolutely delighted about because I've decided I hate having plans. That's the revelation for me. And they say that having kids is the death of spontaneity, and so that is a double hit for me because I love doing things spontaneously, and I now have to have plans, but I despise plans. So I'm delighted to say I'm not doing anything outside of London for the next month. I've got a wedding and a stag do to go to, but I've not anything to do. So I right now am having what do we call it? JOMO, the joy of missing out. I mean, is it a FOMO? If that is a thing I have, I'm just delighted by it.
Did you just make that up, Leo? I've never heard of JOMO.
Don't know. Did I make that up?
I think I've definitely heard it before.
FOMO, yes. Never JOMO. Good for you.
Thanks. Yeah, I think it's something, isn't it? It's something. Okay, gang. Look, let's get into it. STR highlights. Rafi, anything caught your eye this week?
Yeah. Last Friday, Vacasa share price dropped 37%. So pretty big news. Essentially, they saw a drop in revenue of 18%, which led to, well, in part, so owners were very unhappy. They lost 9% of their inventory, which amounts to 4,000 homes. And that all led to this 37% drop in the stock price. And essentially what's happening is the company is now going to reorganize and try to give more power to the local teams in the hopes of increasing its number of homes again and improving relations with existing owners. However, they do not expect to be profitable this year in 2024. So I think, Sarah, you have some thoughts about all of this?
Yeah, I think Vacasa is a tricky one, right? Because it's sort of like we commented on Airbnb the other day. I think the valuation to start with was massively inflated because when they went to IPO, they went under the guise of we're a technology company. And so the multiple that they got was insane and not that of a tech-enabled vacation rental management company, which would have been much more appropriate and obviously a much lower multiple. And so kind of the flip side of that is in order to grow that inventory and reach that valuation, they had to grow at a rate that was unsustainable to do locally. And so they were taking on all kinds of properties, scaling too quickly. And I think a lot of things got lost in the details. And so I'm really glad to hear that they're sort of refocusing, going back to this hyperlocal approach. I think it's the only way. We've talked about this many times on the podcast. Like it's the only way to properly do a short-term rental. It's what makes our industry unique. It's what makes it not cookie cutter and corporate. And so, yeah, it's really good to hear that they're kind of pivoting the strategy. It's a shame they're not going to be profitable this year, but it seems like if there's a way to turn around the ship, they're doing everything they can. So, yeah.
We love hyperlocal, don't we, on this podcast? We're such fans of it. So I think you're right, Sarah. Also, it makes me realize, I suppose most STR property managers are thinking about what their exit strategy is, what it will be. It shows you the importance of having a really solid homeowner contract so that you can try and keep your inventory, because it's the elephant in the room, I think, when you're selling your business is what if John and Julie, who gave their property to you for all these years, really just liked you and the relationship that you'd built with them, and then you hand it over to the larger company that comes in and buys you. It becomes the larger company's problem, right? How do you mitigate that situation? And I guess you do have to try and keep as much resource with the local team as possible and keep the faces the same and familiar. Try and keep the cleaners because they're often maybe the only people the hosts actually see during crossovers. So definite challenge. No one's obviously nailing it yet, or maybe it's impossible to nail, but it's an interesting journey we're on. Good piece to focus on, I think. One that caught my eye, given the turbulence we're seeing in the market, and generally it's kind of been a busy summer, right? Rafi and Sarah both hoping for August off, but no, so much news we had to get them in to do the pod. So Home to Go, so German base, a bit close to home for us. Home to Go reports Q2 booking revenues high. it's reported second quarter booking revenues of 64 million euros, which is up 27% year over year, which is amazing. And obviously, they're in that growth mode, not just from their bookings, but also the what they would say is their subscription services and their service part of their business, which is the Smoobu PMS. So good trends happening there. Worth celebrating. Cool. All right, guys. So packed show again. We're just finding so much to talk about at the moment. Sarah, start us off. We've got an article here from Bloomberg.
Yeah, this was a really interesting one. So it mostly focuses on US travel, but as we know, what happens in the US tends to start happening in Europe about a year later. So I think so. Some of the highlights from this article are, first and foremost, travel is returning to pre-pandemic levels. I think there's been a lot in the news about travel is dying and travel is slowing and all these kind of things. And so I think, first of all, let's not panic. It's just a normal market correction after the craziness that was post-pandemic, which was not normal. So things are kind of going back to pre-pandemic levels. So in my opinion, nothing to worry about too much. One thing that we should be aware of, especially in our industry, is that post-pandemic, travelers are booking with a much shorter lead time. So even in the year leading up to the pandemic, the average booking window was 40 days. It's now lowered to 30 days for short-term rentals. So this is something we need to keep in mind, I think, as well, when we're pricing, also not entering into that panic. And ultimately, what travelers are looking for whenever they are booking sooner is a deal. So an interesting one on that. I think the other thing is trip duration. So we have noticed a trend towards shorter trips. And so travelers are maybe traveling much more frequently, but for 2, 3, 4 days. And then even among high net worth individuals, which I thought this was an interesting one that the article cited, where you would think, and normally it's like the least impacted segment. But even the average trip among high net worth individuals is down 14% year over year. So averaging 6.2 days as opposed to 7.8 last year. And this is normally the segment that is least affected by any kind of, sort of luxury markets tend to be the least affected by any kind of economic shifts. And ultimately, sort of the main takeaway of the article is that the industry's response so far has been to double down on marketing efforts and really increasing affordability, sort of targeting these budget conscious travelers. So I don't know, curious, what do you guys think? Has it hit Europe yet?
I think that's my experience as well, based on people I talk to in the industry, that booking windows are getting shorter. What I find fascinating is this idea that booking times are down, but duration is down. I wonder if that's people feeling the pinch slightly. I always say of our industry, well, tourism in general, people always want to go on holiday, even during hard times. They just go for less time, and they maybe stay closer to home, so the means of transport to get there is less expensive. Did I mention that I hate plans? Because I really hate plans. Right? So I'm all for last minute bookings. I think that's good. And clearly we've got the generation below us, the Gen Zers who feel the same, right, about it. Who's, I think, employers, in the most part, they'll all be working for other people at this age, will be more relaxed about them taking leave, giving less notice based on the fact that our working patterns have changed. So if you're in, I think that's a lot of it. Like, you don't have to make your plans a year in advance. Whereas when my parents were working and they were booking our family holiday, they probably booked it the minute we got home from our summer holiday. It was booked again for the following year. And even, like, I think the article mentions how Christmas, Thanksgiving, summer holiday, even though those high stress times for supply, people aren't panicking into making a quick decision. I guess some of that's financial, a lot of that's cultural, and again, people, I think, sharing that view that you want to be a bit more spontaneous. Does it mean that? Yeah, and I think people are just a little bit nervous at the moment. The jury's out on where the economy is going to go over the next 6 months to a year. So I think people probably are being a bit more price conscious. But for me, it's, from a personal perspective, it is driven by just not wanting to have my whole year planned out and ready, and able to think about it on the go. And again, that's why the element that surprises me is the reduction in booking length, because I would have thought hybrid working means people go for longer and maybe tack on a few days work at the end of their trip. I often do that. I don't know. Do either of you guys do that, Rafi?
I kind of want to be doing it more than I do. I don't really do it much actually. And I'm like, sometimes I realize and I'm like, oh, I could have actually, extended that stay and worked a couple of days from yeah, it's some added flexibility that I guess I'm not really in the mindset of doing yet, but it's definitely something that more and more people are going to be doing in the near future.
Yeah.
I tried it and I hated it. I just interrupted my whole vacation mindset, and so I stopped doing it. I did it like once or twice, and then I was like, "This sucks." I was on holiday yesterday, and now I'm working, and you're from a beautiful place, and somehow it makes it worse. Whereas, like, if I'm at home, I don't really mind being stuck inside, but if you're at a beautiful location, you would think it'd be the opposite, but no, it turns out you don't want to work there.
There you
Yeah.
go. So maybe everyone's realized that they tried post-pandemic, they tried this let's work from anywhere routine and realized nothing beats just working at home quietly or at my office. Who knew?
I
Who
definitely
knew,
think
guys?
for working in the office, it's more motivating to be with the colleagues and yeah, I just feel more productive. But if I can, like, for example, maybe flights are going to be cheaper if you fly out back on a Wednesday instead of a Sunday, then that's that extra flexibility where it's interesting to say, oh, I'm just going to like at the end of my holiday, I'll take those few, couple days to work from where I'm at, and then I'll fly home and resume working from the office. And that's the kind of thing that I think has potential.
Can we talk quickly about this post-pandemic slowdown? In the context of revenge travel, do you, in your friendship groups, in your experience, were people traveling a lot more during COVID? I don't know that. I don't know that I was necessarily. I keep hearing that there's a lot of revenge travel. For me, I don't know. Don't know.
I think revenge travel was much more prominent, for example, like 2022, 2023, than like actually during COVID, but so it was more immediately after. Even when I did the Camino last year, I remember thinking, "Oh, I'll go in May. There's not going to be that many people. It'll be fine." And everything was packed. And like even in all of the albergues and everything, they were saying, "Oh gosh, we've never had this many people at once." Like there weren't places to stay. It was kind of a nightmare, actually. They had way more pent up demand. And when I would speak with people, there were so many of them who were, "Hey, we had planned this trip for 2020 or 2021 or 2022, and we're finally doing it in 2023 because we feel safe to travel again," especially a lot of international people. So I don't know. I think it definitely exists. I don't know if I'd call it revenge travel. I think it's just pent up, like people who had already planned to do something and they still wanted to take that trip. And so it was just moving it back. And I think what happened is it all culminated in the same like 2 years.
Yeah.
I think that during the COVID years, there was probably a bit of revenge travel, but nationally. So people were sticking to their country, but like doing long weekends or a week in like a chalet or that kind of thing to get together with your friends that you haven't been able to really spend time with. And I think that was maybe something that drove that revenge travel in a way. But that was, yeah, more during the COVID years. And then, like you say, Sarah, after that, it was more international travel and more trying to get out and exploring the world again, which we weren't able to do at all during the COVID years.
Okay, well, interesting article. One to keep an eye on. I think funny how the focus a few weeks ago in the media was all about over tourism and locals being tired of their towns being overrun and local areas doing taxes and tariffs to enter. But potentially we'll see the opposite happening now at the end of summer and next year if this trend continues. So let's see. It does seem it's flip-flopping a little bit. Thanks, Sarah. Rafi, take us on to the next one, an article from FocusWire about Hopper.
Yeah. So Hopper, mainly known as a consumer travel app, is now heavily focusing on their B2B platform, Hopper Technology Solutions, HTS, in order to drive growth. So Hopper's strategy is to use HTS to help banks and credit cards offer travel services directly to their customers. And this has led to partnerships with financial institutions in key markets such as the US, Brazil, Australia, Japan, and South Korea. HCS was launched in 2021, and it now accounts for 66% of Hopper's total revenue. And basically, one of the key drivers for success here is the fact that Hopper initially has this unique advantage of a flexible tech stack, which integrates seamlessly with loyalty programs and rewards. And what I find really interesting in this article is that Hopper is essentially saying we're only going to be focusing our marketing for our app in the US and we're letting go of all marketing spend internationally and relying fully on these partnerships with these financial institutions, which themselves are already doing all the marketing that they need in order to attract these consumers. So it's a really, really interesting strategic move, I find. The fact that they're outsourcing their marketing, their international marketing, and even I would say the loyalty initiatives to credit card companies who are doing all of that anyway, and who have essentially access to these customers that love to travel. Um, and I would say, like, even when it comes to, I mean, we were talking about loyalty programs last time, but when it comes to loyalty programs, I feel like it does make a lot more sense. Loyalty is a thing, like, but in specific cases, and I think it makes a lot more sense for the loyalty program to be driven by a product which is anyway used in a lot of different cases, as opposed to just, in our case, the travel industry. So credit card credit cards are used all the time for so many different reasons, including travel. So why, I mean, it just makes so much sense to capitalize on that as a travel brand and reach those customers through the credit card companies, as opposed to just creating your own loyalty program, which will only benefit people when they travel. What are your thoughts?
Rafi, I'm with you. I'm totally with you. It really feels like what's interesting is how much they're going for it, right? Like, it's quite dramatic, isn't it? They're
Yeah.
really like doubling down. It's like someone's had a good idea and everyone's like jumping in behind it. It's where I like to be on a good idea. Just jump all over someone else's great idea. Like someone at Hopper's gone, you know what? You've just unlocked the key to our next level of growth. That's what's interesting. It's quite startup-y that's my first reading of it. But I'm into it. I remember when I was at One Fine Stay, we had a very good relationship with Amex, and that was a really good partnership, a really profitable partnership. So it's another marketing channel, and I don't see it like it's not a subscription loyalty. We were kind of bashing loyalty, weren't we, last week? We love to bash loyalty, but we're bashing it on the view of like accommodation providers trying to have their own loyalty programs that around networks and communities, which I still think is a swing and a miss. But this makes total sense to me. Most people who are reasonably wealthy have a credit card, and the wealthier they are, the more points they have on their credit card and the more perks there are. So it's perfect because they're a traveler that has money to spend, and therefore will most likely do things like they like spending money. They like spending money on travel. They're interested in seeing the world, and they're upwardly mobile. So a really good consumer to be directly linked with. So yeah, I think it's a smart distribution and growth play. I wonder if we'll see them correct themselves and run back into opening up different marketing channels after they feel like they've got the most out of the partnerships they can get. But I think it's definitely something that's undercooked in our industry. I suppose that's the beauty of Hopper, right? That they work across verticals, so they've got more of an offering. So I think to put an SDR slightly, maybe what One Fine Stay struggled with ever so slightly with the Amex partnership, or with partnerships like it, is the fact that they were just offering one type of accommodation in a sea of perks, of which they were just quite a niche offering. So that's maybe some like Hopper has an advantage because they do hotels, flights, and vacation rentals. I don't know if that partnership can be replicated by a smaller SDR provider. I think it does need to be someone with lots of scale. But yeah, generally speaking, good for the industry. Sarah?
Yeah, I agree. I think it has to be done at a much higher level, right? It has to be done at the OTA level, and not something that you pay for. I think it has to be linked to like a credit card that you use every day. I think that makes a whole lot more sense to me than paying for like a subscription to even to an OTA. You can use those kind of points on flights and everything surrounding travel. And so I totally agree with you. I think it makes a whole lot more sense. We're not opposed to loyalty programs, by the way, folks. We just don't like a subscription to a loyalty program that is just for one specific, either like management company or OTA. That's what we don't understand. But I think this makes sense. I'm not quite sure how innovative it is. I mean, I feel like credit cards been doing points for 20 years. So it works. Is it innovative? I don't know. I think it's like a misnomer there to call it super innovative, but we are where we are.
I agree with that. It's just someone running after a new marketing channel, isn't it? I question though for the group, I can answer it first. Has anyone ever used points on their credit card? I have not. I couldn't even tell you how many points I've accrued on my Amex, but I've never spent a point.
I tried to, and it was such a nightmare. I had a Chase credit card for a while. It was such a nightmare to find the accommodation, and then maybe I didn't have enough points, and then depending on the dates, you would have enough points for this and not for that. And I found like the actual the booking portal to be really not user friendly, and so I did not end up using those points and canceled the credit card because I got so frustrated.
Yeah, I can't say I have either. I think that this is something that works really well in the US. That's where, they're way ahead, especially compared to Europe. I wonder how it is in Asia. I think there's definitely, a lot of people who do this and they literally live by their credit card points. But yeah, it's probably less prominent in Europe for now.
Well, look, I know what I'm doing as soon as we're done here. I'm going to log into my Amex and see what I can buy, and then I'll talk to you about it next week. All right, gang, that was really interesting one. Finishing with something a little bit fun, because it's always good to talk about Netflix and different things we're watching on TV. So, how streaming TV is driving destination inspiration. Everyone has a view on this. I read the article and it sort of introduced me to a new phrase. I don't know if either of you have heard of this phrase before reading the article, set jetting, which I think is just wonderful, absolutely wonderful. The idea that travelers are so inspired that they go to the destinations that they see on their favorite shows. I'm thinking the obvious one I'm thinking about is Game of Thrones and Croatia. I feel like everybody was doing that Game of Thrones tour a couple of years ago. So essentially, streaming TV content significantly influences travel decisions, with 60% of consumers discovering new destinations through their favorite shows. It makes perfect sense. I'm thinking Eat, Pray, Love, the pizza place in Naples. I bet one of us has been there. Anyone been? No?
I've never been to Naples. No,
Yeah.
it's on the list.
Let's do it. Let's go live from Naples later in the summer. Notting Hill. I mean, that's the other obvious one, isn't it? Everyone that the house with the blue door and all that. The list goes on and on. And me, so where I think I am on this is clearly that makes a lot of sense. For travel brands, and I think Rafi, you might bring in the adventure sports side of things as well into this conversation. So skiing and different hiking and things you can do, and how brands and accommodation providers, specifically STR providers that are in that space, can tack their advertising onto those type of shows. That makes complete sense. What I think is really interesting as well is the idea that I think I've said this a few times now, so probably I'm repeating myself, but it's slight different angle here is that I do think this is why STR providers, accommodation providers, OTAs should be creating their own content around destinations, because people, when they are deciding where to go on holiday, they will be all over YouTube watching different shows about different areas. And so if you can then advertise through that, I think it makes a ton of sense. I'm a real sucker for people wandering around America on YouTube. I can't get enough of it. Shout out to Peter Santinello, who's a guy I always watch. And he was in Montana the other day, and I was watching it, and I was like, "Damn, I want to go to Montana." And then the next thing I know, I am looking to try and find some accommodation and plan a trip. So yeah, I like it. I think it's interesting. I think as an industry we could be doing more to be pointed towards it. And and who doesn't love watching Netflix? So Rafi, what do you think?
I agree with what you're saying. I just don't know. Are you influenced by an ad when you're watching a show? Personally, if I get an ad, I mean, also what I've noticed, little side note, is I've noticed all these streaming platforms are actually, they're putting ads even if you're paying a subscription for the streaming platform. Like, this is kind of new. I've noticed it on Amazon. I've noticed it on Disney Plus. I've noticed Netflix. For now, there's nothing, so that's good. But it's a little bit frustrating. Also, when I see an ad, I don't pay attention, because all I want is to skip the ad and just continue my show. It comes in the middle of the show as well. So this is something it's a personal opinion, but I'm assuming I'm not the only one who finds it frustrating. Have you guys been influenced by an ad on a streaming channel before? What are your thoughts here?
No, never been influenced by an ad.
That's what you think. That's what you
That's
think.
what I think. I know. Can you imagine? Maybe I have. I don't know. And it's subliminal advertising. No, I think I'm much more likely to be influenced, for example, by some place that I see in a show, than I would be in an ad. And I think part of that is just, I don't want to feel like I'm being manipulated. And so like in a show, I feel like, okay, this is cool. Maybe I'll check it out. And oftentimes you see places that you never would have thought of, right? Like Montana. Okay, sure. If I think about it, fine. There's like mountains and things there, but it's not a destination that I would have ever thought I need to go to Montana. But maybe if you watch a show, then it can kind of bring it out of you. I don't know. I don't think I would be influenced by ads. I don't have a TV, so I rarely watch shows and things. I have Netflix, but I don't have anything else. So I have not noticed those frustrations. But I definitely, like, if I were to get something on, let's say, YouTube or something like that, I just try and skip as quickly as possible. So I think I'm much more influenced by like subliminal advertising, I mean, they do this all the time in movies, right? Like the product placement, where you'll have a movie where the main character is always drinking a Pepsi, or always, like in Spain, they do it a lot where they're always drinking a certain kind of beer, and it's throughout the whole movie. And those are like sponsored, I guess, ads, but it's more low key, and so you don't really recognize. And that does actually work on me. Like I'll watch people and be like, oh damn, I could really use a Estrella Galicia. That sounds great, you know?
Yeah. 9 a.m. Why am I craving a beer? Oh God. Yeah. Actually, that's a different reason. That's a different conversation.
It's August.
Yeah.
Holiday vibes.
Holiday vibes. So for you, Sarah, it would then work to watch some content that's been made by an STR brand that's talking about their destination, as opposed to, because that's the key, right? It's not making it an advertorial, but making unique content that people find engaging, that then drives them. And I think that's right. And again, I'm sure I'm influenced by adverts I see during these shows, but I do agree. I'm always looking for that skip button. Scary. Maybe it reveals how terrible a parent I am, so I shouldn't be saying it. But already my daughter, who's not even 3, if she's watching Peppa Pig or something on my phone, she knows where that skip button is. As soon as that advert, she is straight on it. So she's already an advert. Gang, it's been great to see you. We've managed to finish on time, so I think we should lean into that, because we never finish on time. So great. Happy continuing August to both of you. Enjoy whatever you've got going on this week, and I'll see you both next week. And to everyone at home, thanks for joining us. If you've enjoyed today's show, hit like, share, subscribe on all the usual social channels. See you next time.
Want to stop juggling spreadsheets, calendars, and a dozen apps just to run your rentals? Lodgify makes it easy. It's an all-in-one toolkit for hosts. Build a direct booking website, automate guest messaging, and keep all your channels in sync. Running your rental business your way has never been simpler. And for Good Morning Hospitality listeners, you can get 20% off any yearly plan with code GMH20. Just check the link in the show notes to get started today.